Alright, today I'm going to talk to you about a coding language named CSS. So CSS is a coding language that's normally used together with HTML. So it's concerned with the display and the design of a website. But whereas HTML is more concerned with the structure and the layout of the information, CSS is more concerned with the design elements like spacing or font or color. So let me just talk to you first about how CSS works in general. So in CSS, we have something called classes, and that class is what you put, for example, here. So if you put a class, for example, here, then that class will decide the design for that entire div tag or the entire body tag or whatever you want it to be. And so you specify the class name right here in a dot class name format, and then you open parentheses, and then you specify the properties that you want down there. And then one interesting thing that you'll understand if you know HTML is this right here. So you'll notice that this from here to here is the class name, but here we have the letter P, and that refers to the P tag in HTML. So what this actually does is that if you have this class and there's a P tag under this class, then the P tags under that class will take on the properties specified below. Okay. So the first style related thing that I'm going to talk to you about is margin, border, and padding. So, for example, if we have this website, just ignore this blue box up here for now, because that's not all that important. You'll notice margin is actually the spacing that is around everything else. So it surrounds the outside of all of the content, and then border is inside the margin, and then padding goes inside the border. So honestly, that's kind of confusing. So I'm just going to give you an example. Okay, if you have, say, like 2 tables, then margin is the space between the ends of your screen and the beginning of your table, and border would be like the spacing between your 2 tables, and padding would refer to the space between the walls of your table and your actual text that goes inside that table. So you'll be a bit more clear about the difference between margin, border, and padding as you gain more experience, because it's a kind of hard to understand intuitively on your first time. So if you don't completely understand and get confused over those 3 terms, then that's completely normal. The next thing that I want to talk about is height and width. So for example, for this box, this blue box up here, you need to specify the height and the width of this box, right? And there are 2 ways in which you can do that. Well, there are more, but the 2 main ways would be pixels and percentage. So pixels would refer to absolute length, and percentage refers to relative to the size of your screen. And the easiest ways to use percentage is actually when you want something to fill the entire screen or go from one side to the other. So for example, if you have this box up here, then that box it stretches from one side of the screen to another. So you use width equals 100%, and that's a lot easier than using pixels. But for a lot of different reasons, pixels is actually a lot easier to use than a percentage if you're not trying to do something specific, like from one side of the screen to another, but that is technically up to your own discretion. The third thing that I'm going to talk to you about is color and background color. So color is specified here, and background color is specified down here. And the difference between those two is obviously that color refers to font and background color refers to the color of a circle or a square or whatever you want to make. And on that note, I'm going to talk about fonts as well. And the three main elements of font are font family, font weight, and font size. So font family refers to the actual font style that you're going to use. Font weight refers to like bold, italic, all of that, and font size refers to the size of your font. And one interesting way to use font styles is this. So there's a Google website of most fonts, including everything that's available, for example, on Google Docs or Google Spreadsheets. And from there, you can download a specific font family, and then you can draw upon that font family later, for example, like here. The fifth thing I'm going to talk about is the cursor. So this cursor colon pointer. So that refers to if you want to change the shape of your cursor, for example, from a pointing kind of thing to the Mickey Mouse hand thing, then you can use a command of this genre. And the last thing that I'm going to talk to you about, and arguably one of the most important, is Flexbox. So Flexbox always starts with this command, display colon flex, and then there are a lot of different commands that can go under that. And one specific website that I'll recommend to you if you really want to continue doing website design or start doing website design is this website. So here we have stuff like the properties for the flex container and the flex items, and you have the commands and what they do, and specific descriptions for most of the things that you can do with flex. One of the more common things in Flex is, for example, justify content. So how you want to align things. Do you want the text to stick to your left or your right? How do you want to space them? All of that is included in Flex. And also, Flex is very important in making lines go to the next line. So for example, if you have a really long line of text, you're obviously not going to fit that onto the screen in one line. So you need to get it to stop and move automatically to the second line at some point. And Flex is the way in which you do that. And there are a lot of different commands in Flex, as I mentioned. So if you have the time, then it's best to just read over all of that and try to get a grasp on everything that Flex can do. Okay, so this was just a very basic tutorial on Flexbox or on CSS in general, and I hope that this helps you in designing your website. Okay.